share the recording afterwards. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining in the middle of the afternoon for me here in the East Coast and wherever you are in the world. The purpose of this is to do a kind of a walkthrough, demonstrate what the AdWords connector is and what it is not. In my experience, this is a feature and a functionality that is not often utilized by Pardot users, by Pardot customers. And I've found it's largely due to lack of understanding and education about what it is and what it isn't. It's also not a feature that has really undergone any update or any enhancement really since it was included as an initial and as a native integration. The AdWords connector it's very cool, but it has very real limitations. And for those who I have seen use it, they've expressed some frustrations with what it is and what it isn't, what it can and can't do. And so I want to preface this by stating that. I also want to encourage you guys, if I misspeak or say something you believe is not accurate, that your experience differs, please feel free to put it in the chat. I will be the first to admit that I don't know everything about this integration. There are certain things, certain aspects of it that I am not as familiar with, some particulars. So if you are familiar with something if you know differently, please mention it in the chat, and I'll make sure to mention it, to note it on this call. With that, let's move forward. So a bit about me. My name is Ben Lamoth. I lead the Pardot / account engagement practice at BDO Digital. I would not be surprised if you don't know what BDO Digital is. It's a smaller digital agency. It was acquired. Demand Gen was who I was working for, and it was acquired by BDO Digital. Demand Gen had been on the market for quite a while, so some of you may be familiar with that. But I am in the Salesforce Pardot account engagement practice, and I lead that effort. There's two others who are in that as well, who we and the three of us are service clients and things of that nature. So this may look familiar. I'll be honest, it was just a screen cap from a video on YouTube, but I felt like it kind of said it pretty well. So the Google Ads connector, everything you see here, it records ad interaction as activity, associates prospects to the ads campaign for first touch, and ties cost data from the ads to Salesforce opportunity data. This is a lot. This, on the surface, when you read it, you're like, holy crap, this is amazing. This is like that, like you're opening the key to this door that just like, this is everything you've been wanting. And because that often happens when you're running AdWords from running ads to a landing page, it's the ability to do any kind of attribution, like directly or indirectly, becomes a little difficult, because you don't have you kind of lose the thread after once the link is clicked in the AdWords, the search ad, and then coming out the other end is a closed won opportunity. There's a lot of question marks in that in between area. What the AdWords connector aims to do is to bring some clarity to that, and it does a pretty okay job. It, in my opinion, kind of oversells itself a bit on what it's actually able to do. At the surface, these three bullets are accurate. There are a lot of caveats that are important to know. and I'm going to show some of this in more detail in other slides. But the first here, records an ad interaction as activity. Correct. Um, when a prospect views, when a cookied prospect, that's important. When a cookied prospect visits or interacts with a AdWords ad and clicks the ad that drives them to the landing page, Pardot, as long as all the tracking codes are there and correctly set up, if that is a cookie known prospect, Pardot is able to identify that interaction and bring it down to the individual prospect level. It can associate prospects from Google ad campaigns for the first touch. Also true. Much like all things in Pardot, AdWords is no different with the integration. It is very focused on first touch. The AdWords integration is not a lifeline for you if you need to do multi-touch attribution. If you're needing to be able to say, okay, I've got this form fill and then an AdWords and then a white paper and then a closed one, you're not able to drop that AdWords like coherently in that multi-touch attribution kind of thinking. It doesn't let you do that. It's not that broad, it's not that comprehensive, but it does give you the ability to associate a prospect to an ad campaign. The other part here ties cost data from ads to Salesforce opportunity data. On the surface, that's accurate. There are caveats. There's probably one of the more frustrating parts of this is it gets so close and then it kind of just peters out towards the end of like what could have been. The way that I understand it, and again, if you understand it differently, and if I'm wrong, please say so. The way that I understand it, the Pardot sees an interaction as evidence of relationship to this ad campaign. It does, and I want to note that interaction does not equal form completion. Yes, actually, there is a way to use UTMs, but it's not really going to run through the AdWords connector. It's going to be because it's not just going to collect it and drop it in the prospect record. You're going to have to rely on that on UTMs that are very closely tied to that specific ad campaign, and then know it, and then be able to build a report knowing that this AdWords campaign ran over this period of time, and they filled out a form and collected this AdWords, these UTMs, ergo, this is part of that ad campaign attribution. There's a lot of if you do this, then if you do that, then that's how that could work, as far as I know. So ties cost data from Google Ads to Salesforce opportunity data. What this means is, like I was saying, when a known prospect interacts with with a Google ad, and it drives them to a landing page that has all the appropriate tracking codes, Pardot sees that interaction as just being what is necessary to associate that AdWords campaign to that prospect. It doesn't have to be a form fill or a conversion. They simply have to have seen it and interacted with it in a way that is recordable. And I'm going to show you in subsequent examples of that in some of these additional slides. So again, these are all screen caps from very informative articles on that Salesforce Ben has, and I have links to those at the end of this. So this is one of the views that you get in the Google AdWords when you go into reporting under connectors and then paid search. This is the main one, paid search campaigns. You have the name of your campaign, the status of that AdWord campaign, your clicks, impressions, conversions, cost per click, unique prospects, unique opportunities, cost per opportunity, revenue, ROI, ad network, and device. So far, these first 5, or 1, 2, 3, these first 6 make sense. Conversions here, as if you have conversion tracking set up, then and you're recording that conversion, and this conversion, this form fill, if that's the conversion, will appear here. But you'll notice conversions is 6, unique prospects is 17. The reason, and as far as I know, this is how I understand it, and if it's wrong, please say so. Or if you find out later that I was wrong, please let me know. Is because even though there are 6 conversions, though these 6 conversions are likely in this 17. However, not all 17 converted because this number is only 6. This is including known prospects who were served this ad and who interacted with it, who clicked on it, and that drove them to this landing page. Because of that action, Pardot is saying, okay, these 17 prospects are directly correlated or related to this ad campaign. Cool. What that means for the opportunity is even more can be frustrating because the broad nature of it continues. As you know, it's a one-to-one relationship between Pardot and Salesforce when it comes to contact, well, sorry, one-to-many when it comes to contact to opportunity. So these 17 across these 17 unique prospects, 3 of them are contacts, at least 3 of them are, possibly only just one, but at least 3 are contacts. And those 3, at least 3, or up to 3, are also related as contact roles on opportunities, open opportunities in Salesforce. The relationship here can be a little frustrating because it is not something where the AdWords connection is going even deeper into Salesforce and saying this opportunity is directly related to this ad campaign. It does not make that connection. This is a inference or a passive kind of inference that for all the opportunities that these 17 prospects who are contacts are in, it's going to list every single opportunity here, every single open opportunity here that these records are related to, regardless of whether or not they had anything to do with this. So this is a true one-to-many representation. So it is going to infer that these contacts here, any open opportunities that are related to any of these records will, by extension, be attributed to this ad campaign because they were a part of this ad campaign and also a part of a unique opportunity. So the opportunity value is going to be attributed. The total value is going to ultimately be attributed to this ad campaign as being in influential. You notice how there's no sourced campaign, influenced campaign. That they don't make that distinction. It's not about multi-touch. It is about first touch. The first interaction is what they run with. So you've got these 3 opportunities among these 17 prospects, and these seem to not have any revenue written in them. So it's hard to say what's actually happening here. But your cost per opportunity here becomes 1377 divided by 3, which becomes 459. So this is your opportunity value for on this cost. The amount of ads you had, the amount of ad spend that had to happen is 459 pounds because it's divided by 3 here. So it's pretty basic, and it's also a little overbroad because this relationship here is not very narrow or unique to this campaign. So this number here should be taken carefully when you're reporting upwards to your leadership, and it says cost per opportunity is this and total revenue. Let's say you've got 20 prospects and 7 opportunities, and those 7 opportunities together have a total revenue value of, I don't know, 1.5 million. It's going to take the 1.5 million as against the cost per opportunity, or rather actually revenue against the cost to give you an ROI percentage. So it's something that is interesting, but should be viewed somewhat skeptically because it's giving you very broad numbers here, where the 17 is not directly related to. There's kind of passive relationship here where it's just they happen to be a contact and those contacts happen to be in opportunities. Ergo, there is at the very least influence or relationship here to this opportunity. These people are part of an AdWords campaign. They interact with the AdWords campaign and they're part of an opportunity. That's how you should see it. Not this specific this specific prospect came into our world specifically because of this, and because of that alone, they generated this one opportunity, which is worth $800,000. So $800,000 can be attributable to this. You're not able to. There is no kind of cookie trail that'll walk you backwards to directly attribute, at least in this view. Something that Ashley asked about being able to do Google Ads and Google Ad tracking. You that is going to be down to the specific down like using UTMs that are unique to this campaign, and um, even then it's gonna be tougher if there's a bunch of prospects. If you have a bunch of people who have done it, you have to get really granular with the dates and say created date is X and last field updated is in the last 10 days, and whatever your timelines are, in order to get that narrowing down to be able to really attribute the AdWords the AdWords campaign to the opportunity. That's more of a one-to-one relationship. This is a one-to-many, and it becomes a little bit murky sometimes. So this is great information, and you see it on the surface, you're like, this is awesome. But it's really important to know that there's very real kind of, I don't know, there's certain things that if you were to try to report upwards, you might get called out on. You're like, how is it possible that these three that someone could say, oh no, I generated this contact 6 weeks ago through this campaign before the AdWords was even running. They've already and so ergo you can't like source that person anymore. It's being directly attributable to this AdWords campaign because they've already been around for 6 weeks or however long. They just happen to get kind of caught up in your AdWords campaign. This does not make that distinction. This is just very all or nothing. There are no shades of gray here, which is good and bad. It gives you something you can kind of just screen cap and say, hey, cool. But be prepared that if you get questioned on it, it might be a tough conversation. Something else I want to show you is the Google AdWords record view. So if there is ads that are interacted with, that will show up in the prospect activities. It'll say the name of the ad, etc. To the click, when it happened. You have your list emails. You have like your natural search that happened at 3:02. And then while they were in the natural search, they saw and clicked on this ad. That is good information. This data will make it into Salesforce using the activity little activity widget, that lightning object thing that says like basically takes this and just makes it visible. Something that I need to go back to is, and I'm going to mention this again towards the end. All this data is great, but all this data is also read only. Similar, and I haven't figured it out. I don't believe that any of this data is available to be used in builds or list builds. This, as far as I know, is very much lives here and dies here. It doesn't doesn't go outside of this app or deeply into it like you can do with GoToWebinar, where you can grab certain parts of GoToWebinar for automations and list builds and things like that. You're not able to do the same with the AdWords stuff. As far as I know, I haven't been able to. So if someone has, then I would love to hear about it. So that's why I wanted to come back to that to say this data can be seen in the um, this data can be seen in the activities little um, module widget thing, um, but it's not really leverageable outside of just this read-only view. There's something else that is also good to know. So there are keywords here that that are good to be able to keep track of. So if you happen to have the ability to say this specific keyword, are all of our ads that we're running targeting this keyword has generated 1,300 clicks. 29 prospects of those 29 prospects that were related to those ads that are related to this keyword, generating 12 opportunities, 107,000 pound opportunity value. Revenue based on probability puts it at 2,000. You get here by making sure that you have added the extension pieces to your ads. There are things that Pardot needs from you to add to your final destination URLs to be able to collect this on the keywords. I will show you that shortly. Actually, here it is. So when you set up the Google Ads connector, you're going to go into the connector and you're going to click, there's this thing called tracking. When you click tracking, this is what shows up. Have a Google AdWords ads admin add the snippet to the final URL suffix of your ads URL tracking options. You add this to the final destination URL, and for all your ads, having the creative keyword match type network device enables this. Enables you to be and enables being able to filter by match type, by network, by device to hone in more closely on your on the keywords. Without this, it's not really possible to do this. And similarly, the same opportunity association relationship is here where it says keywords, these are prospects, not sourced prospects, but related prospects, and all the opportunities that these 29 prospects are in, total value of all those opportunities is here. So kind of light inference or light kind of light correlation, but that is how Pardot sees it and reports it back out to you. It's definitely a challenge to make this case to someone who is checking your work because this is it's inexact. It's not perfect. It's definitely a shade of gray. And for those that are trying to track really closely, they're going to struggle with this stuff because with this kind of view, because it doesn't give you all the information in the way that makes it possible or makes it useful. So, question, can that text be added to an existing UTM, or would you suggest setting up a UTM link and a link for that? So yes, you can add these to existing UTMs. It doesn't have to be a separate link. It can be its own. It can be its own. It can be appended to that as long as you just have that separator, like you do now. Um, it should work. I would encourage you to test it to make sure, but I can't. I'm trying to figure out why that would be an issue. Because yeah, basically you just want to have the ampersand here. Ampersand creative equals creative and keyword equals keyword and match type equals match type. So you should be able to just drop it in there, probably at the end of your existing UTMs. Um, yeah, that should work. To track link clicks, the final URL page must have a tracking code. Also important. So if you're not using a Pardot landing page or using a separately hosted page, it's critical that you have the Pardot tracking code on there, plus whatever Google AdWords or Google Analytics tracking that you have on there. So, yep, you're welcome. Critical things to know. So, I've already covered a lot of this, um, but I'll just kind of restate it again. That the data is read only. You can't use it in automations, and it can't be passed into Salesforce for reporting. It's maybe one day. I don't know. They've spent very little time trying to improve that integration. They probably feel like it's fine. It's not doesn't need to be improved, and I don't know that they have the technical ability to push that data any deeper right now. Um, as I said before, relationships is one-to-one with the opportunity. You can't distinguish a single context opportunity to a specific AdWords campaign. Um, you can infer, and using the creating custom fields in Pardot that use UTMs, um, especially if those UTMs are like allow multiple values for each of them, you could do some inference there that's a little closer, but it's not going to collect. Pardot doesn't collect UTMs unless there's a conversion action. So it's not just going, not going, it doesn't do not do the same thing as analytics. It's not just going to collect and post the UTMs. There has to be a form completion. As I said before, it relies very heavily on first touch. Um, Prospects associated with the ad are due to seeing the ad and visiting the web page, not necessarily completing the form. People who have completed the form will be in there, but it's not going to be like there's going to be a difference. Something else that people have found frustrating is the AdWords, like any other connector. It's an API. It's at the end of the day, it's an API integration. It's a webhook. We're just going to collect data, and it's not continually running 24/7. It's on a schedule. So the Pardot-AdWords connector syncs every 24 hours. So if you drop in on any given Tuesday at 3 p.m., that data in AdWords is going to be going to be fresher and more accurate than what you see in Pardot. Your data in Pardot will be different because it is not synced recently. So that is something else that needs to be kind of communicated to the powers that be, whoever it is that you are responsible for reporting into about this data, is that the Pardot data that they see is going to be a little stale. AdWords is going to be kind of the gospel there because the that's the single source of truth. Pardot is just collecting the data on a schedule. So whoever it is that's looking at this data or expecting data from you, I would strongly encourage you to make clear to them that the connector is not real time. It is not even in the same frequency as the Salesforce to Pardot integration. It is a 24-hour integration. So the data you see in AdWords will almost always be different than the data that you're seeing in Pardot. And I wanted to show you guys. So I don't have an org that has AdWords running. I'm actually I was going to try and take screen caps of something I'm working in, but I'm having an issue with the integration. So that's fun. But what I will show you here is when you go in here to add the connector and you click AdWords, it's going to ask you to sign in with Google. So select one of your Google ad account, whatever account is associated to this AdWords campaign, or to this AdWords account. So when you do that, it's going to ask you for your AdWords account number, and if that account is a manager of a larger account, it has manager credentials of a different account. It will then ask you for the account number of the account that you've been designated as a manager. Once that data comes in, it takes about 24 hours for that data, because as you know, it does a 24-hour sync. Just because you've set up the connector does not mean it's going to immediately start bringing in data. It's going to take time. So do not expect that it's gonna happen right away. But once it does come in, you'll find the report data in Pardot reports, connected apps, and paid search. These are the, if I had, let's see, yeah, natural search, paid search. I think because I don't have this set up, I'm not able to see the keyword search because there's no, all I have is search queries and campaigns. But I believe if I do have this connection running, it will give me the keywords, unless they remove that recently. I'm not sure. But yeah, all that data is going to show up in your in Pardot reports in under paid search, and that's where you're able to do different uh, related to different campaigns. One thing you can do, which I haven't really demonstrated here, but thought I had it on YouTube somewhere, but you are able to, for a paid search campaign, you are able to go into that campaign, and there'll be like a little gear icon here. You click that, and you're able to associate the name of the paid search campaign to your Salesforce campaign to clean up your kind of campaign relationship. Because if you're using a different naming convention on the paid search campaign versus the Salesforce campaign metric or campaign naming convention, you do have the ability to relate those, to say, okay, go in and click the gear icon and put it here in find the related Salesforce campaign and associate them. So yeah, that was really it. I don't have anything really more to. Oh, the only other thing is here I've got resources here. I will drop these. Whoopsie, I'll put these in the chat. So if you guys want to spend some more time learning about it, but it'll also be. Ooh, that just all clumped together. Let's try this again. There, copy. There's 1, 2, and then 3. This is a YouTube channel that the YouTube video that I grabbed some of this from. But the AdWords connector is great. It gives you some anecdotal, at the very least, some anecdotal stuff to talk about as it relates to ROI when you're having these marketing ops meetings about AdWords spend and what you're getting for it. You would be able to at least refer kind of somewhat in an imprecise way that we've spent $10,000 and I've got 20 prospects in our database, known prospects who have at least seen this ad. And of those, of those 20, there's 3 opportunities that are in flight that are worth 1.5 million. So, or whatever it is. So we can at least anecdotally say that these AdWords campaigns are being seen by people who are also directly related to open opportunities. The sourcing becomes a little more exact when you are able to either use the campaign member status value as a completion action on a form, or using the UTMs in concert with the campaign member status value to say, this is the UTMs, this is the campaign member status for this campaign, this is the opportunity value for these people who are in this campaign who I know came directly through this AdWords campaign. You are able to get a little more exact, but the big picture here is, okay, I've got all this revenue, I've got all this opportunity value, I've got 20 prospects who have seen and interacted with this ad, and 3 of them, and there are at least 3 opportunities open from people who were among the 20 who interacted with this ad, who were existing records, existing prospects, or fill out the form. So that's really kind of what it gives you. It gives you greater insight. It's not as exact as it could be or should be, and it shouldn't be the sole thing that you rely on, but it does give you a little bit more information to be able to kind of add some context, potentially defend your spend, because it does take you probably a step and a half deeper than what you would have otherwise, in terms of how you're are like targeting, and if your prospects are seeing the campaigns, and how much those opportunities are worth, where those people who also for those people who also interacted with the ad. So it does give you a little bit closer. It's not doesn't quite thread the needle, but it's certainly closer than it would have otherwise been. Um, so I don't see anything else in the chat. So if there are no questions, I will let you guys go early. So yeah, excellent. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me in your afternoon on Tuesday. I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. And yeah, thanks again. I'll send out the recording sometime this week, and I'll also put it up on the Pardot Geeks blog. So thank you so much. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.